Very much, Jeff Chadia. We'll hear much more from you a little later in the show. Much different story in New York, where the Jets remain the league's only winless team. They host the Raiders this weekend. Sam Darnold saying his poor play is on him. He said there are a lot of great people in the organization that are going to take the blame for not winning games, and that includes his head coach, Adam Gase.
Yeah, I mean, I came here to help him develop his career, and we haven't been able to do that. And that's why every game's so important, is keep trying to help him grow, keep trying to help him develop and see things the way that he needs to see them, and play the way that I've seen him play in certain games. We need to do things well around him, but at the same time, it's on me to get him to play better than what he's played. And right so far, I haven't done a good enough job.
Yeah, certainly a situation in New York that we've seen unfold over the last couple of years. Disappointing play from Sam Darnold. Kim Jones, never a disappointment for us. With more on the Raiders and Jets, what more can you tell us about what Adam Gase has said about him and Sam Darnold's relationship this week?
Yeah, and listen, I think the two have a good relationship, Omar. The results have not proven to be successful at any level this season. But I'm reminded of, what is it now, not quite 2 years ago, when Adam Gase was a new head coach for the New York Jets. And he had an off-the-record session with reporters, a film session. Now, I'm going to keep all of those details off the record, at least the ones I can still remember. But I do know it was really helpful. And I remember leaving that session saying to some other reporting colleagues, wow, he's got some great ideas with Sam. This is going to work. So it's not as if this has all been doomed since the beginning, but certainly this year, 0 for so far. Certainly 0 and 16 is possible, which is a nightmare for any organization. It has all fallen apart. And I think with what Sam has said in terms of, hey, blame me, and with what you just heard Adam Gase say there, that's really a big picture look at everything that truly has gone wrong.
Kim, you talk about a nightmare and things falling apart. You can say the same thing about the Raiders playing in Atlanta last week. So much hope and optimism coming off that Chiefs game a couple weeks ago, and then they lay an egg in Atlanta. What's their mindset heading into this one?
Well, and Omar, as you know now, at 6-5, they're on the outside looking in terms of the playoffs. That picture obviously is not solved or finalized yet by any means. But that loss, 43-6 to the Atlanta Falcons, is almost hard to figure until you look a little deeper. 5 turnovers, 11 penalties obviously contributed mightily to that. But here's the one thing intriguing to me. There's more than one, but the biggest thing intriguing to me Sunday, it's not like the Raiders are going to come in and figure it's going to be a cakewalk against the Jets. The Jets actually beat the Raiders a year ago 34-3. So number one, John Gruden, Derek Carr, and that group will come in here believing it has to play well to win, and especially coming off that result against Atlanta. But that actually speaks to how far the Jets have fallen, doesn't it? That they were that dominant in a game like that a year ago. They beat the Cowboys as well, by the way. And now here they are struggling with no wins on this season.
Yeah, and the Raiders historically have played the Jets very poorly. 0 for their last 6. They haven't beat the Jets since 1996. Kim, that's a long, long time ago.
It's a long
Graduating
time.
high school for me. Gee, many Christmas.
Oh, Omar!
I just aged myself, Kim. I know we're not supposed to do that, but good Lord, when I saw that stat, unbelievable. Kim Jones, thank you very much. We'll see you again next hour.
Arguably, spending time with their families who came from all over, keep them out of the building a couple extra days just as a precaution. And based on this memo that we received this morning, that is going to continue through the balance of the season. So basically, team facilities are going to essentially be closed on Monday or Tuesday. No in-person meetings during that time. Coaches are allowed to have access to the building, but they are not allowed to meet in person with their players. Players are allowed to do some strength and conditioning. They're allowed to lift, but it has to be videoed. It has to be basically under surveillance just to make sure that everyone is using all of the caution that they need to be using. The other thing in this memo was 62-person limits on travel parties was done away with. So now no longer is the league going to have to register every person who's traveling. It is just going to have to be smart and make sure that people who are traveling need to be there. For instance, teams can bring their practice squads, which, given the depth concerns like the Ravens had, is valuable.
Yeah, obviously hoping to avoid that situation in Baltimore, situations that we saw in Denver as well last weekend. The Eagles just trying to get back on track offensively, doing whatever it can to improve Carson Wentz's play. Doug Peterson saying he's still very much the play caller, but has divvied up some of those responsibilities. We'll let him explain here.
If I'm going to be part of the solution to our offensive woes, then I'm gonna be part of the solution, and whatever that takes and whatever that looks like, whether it be elements of the game plan, calling plays, or maybe whatever it might be in game. But ultimately, these are my decisions. As we move forward, and it is something that I have to dig deep and kind of soul search a little bit, because I love doing it. Don't get me wrong; it's a lot of fun. It gives you a lot of joy and excitement when you do it and you do it well. But again, I'm going to keep it internal and focus on the team.
And obviously, he's done that job as well to win a Super Bowl. What more can you tell us now about Doug Peterson and that offense?
That was a coach, Omar, who is trying very, very badly to find something that works for his team. And, so many of these guys come into the league wanting to be play callers. That is, for many offensive minds, really the be-all and end-all. And for Doug Peterson to be willing, Tom, to give up some of the play calling and allow it to be from someone else, either situationally or otherwise, in his staff, really just makes me think he really wants to be better. And he mentioned it. He's done some soul searching. Clearly, this is something that hit him hard. But the most important thing for the Eagles is to try to get themselves out of this funk, to try to get Carson Wentz out of this funk. And it does seem like Peterson and the rest of the offensive staff are willing to try anything to get them there.
Well, Ian, this is really nothing new for the Eagles. Their 2-minute calls have been made by Rich Scangarello, who's a senior offensive assistant there, since at least October. You also have Press Taylor calling plays at times. Of course, Marty Morningweg is in that building as well. Doug Peterson is a very collaborative guy. He wants to make sure that everybody's involved. But when you couple having different types of offensive philosophies and play calling with all the changes they've had in terms of injuries, guys shuffling out along the line at the skill positions as well, that does help explain a little bit of why the Eagles offense has looked so disjointed of late.
Yeah, elsewhere in the NFC East, the Giants dealing with a quarterback situation. Joe Judge saying that they've dealt with a lot more questions than answers as far as Daniel Jones and his hamstring injury has been concerned. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. He has been throwing off to the side. Joe Judge providing an update today.
I think there's a mix. We have to do enough with him in practice to make sure that he can go back there and operate and have an ability to protect himself and be able to, move in the pocket, get the ball thrown away, pull it down and run if we need to. And then, you have to trust how he says he feels. Now, I'll be honest with you, the dangerous thing with Daniel is he's going to always tell you he feels great because he doesn't want to not be out there with the team. So, we've got to really trust our eyes more so than our ears when dealing with Daniel, because he's definitely a competitor.
Now, obviously, Colt McCoy played in Daniel Jones' stead when he left the game last week. What more can you tell us about this Giants quarterback situation, Ian?
Yeah, first of all, it hurts my eyeballs to watch him sit there in Ole Miss gear. I know my wife, who's a Mississippi State girl, is probably cringing as well. He lost a bet with Evan Ingram, which is why he's wearing that ridiculous hat. Anyway, as far as Daniel Jones goes, he was out at practice today, and we'll see what he was listed at. Based on the reports from reporters who were there, he really just stood around. Does not seem like that's someone who's preparing to start on Sunday. Joe Judge, I know, would not rule him out, and they do want to give him every opportunity to get that hamstring ready. But just based on the trajectory of the situation, the way they're talking, the way Jones seemed at practice, it seems like the likely starter is going to be Colt McCoy, but I think the good thing is this is not a long-term injury for Daniel Jones that potentially could be out there next week.
Yeah, big test for the Giants in Seattle. DeForest Buckner, one of the headliners last week that tested positive for COVID-19, and that Colts defense certainly took a big hit, Tom, absent against the Titans. What can you tell us as far as DeForest Buckner's status going into this weekend?
Well, Omar, the Colts activated DeForest Buckner from the reserve COVID-19 list today. They also, within the past couple days, activated Danico Autry from the reserve COVID-19 list, both guys who had tested positive last week. And those are their top two